Good morning. How you doing? It's Tuesday morning. It's 8:30 in the morning. Like a few seconds away from 8:30 here in Western Iowa. 38 degrees right now. 24 hours from now should be about 21. So it's cold, but it's going to get colder, and we'll show you that here as we go through today's forecast. Thank you for clicking on my lame thumbnail. I really appreciate that. All right, looking at the GOES 16 infrared satellite. Look at this. Look at this northerly wind coming off Lake Superior into Wisconsin, all the way down into the Midwest, and the jet stream south of that, some clouds associated with that, moving out of Iowa. That's why we're 38 this morning. We had high clouds most of the night. Well, yesterday morning it was freezing, but it's going to be a hard freeze tonight. Anyway, this cold air is spilling into the Great Lakes, into the Midwest, into the Northeast, and eventually down south through the plains too. We see the northerly wind here, so we'll show you how dramatic that's going to be for our cool-off. Meanwhile, we see for the Pacific Northwest, another system moving in. That's going to be a big player moving forward, as it'll be the west's turn to cool off. So here are the hazards for today, watches and warnings across the country, and look at all that deep purple. Not smoke on the water, but freeze warnings. North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, Missouri, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and then it turns into a freeze watch when you get into Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, California. And yes, even winter storm warnings on this map for the Bozeman area, the mountains south of Bozeman. Also not far from Salt Lake City, just east of Salt Lake City, the mountains there. A little bit of a wind advisory for parts of New Mexico. And I left out the freeze warning. I left out Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Virginia, and a little bit of North Carolina. So that cold air is spilling southward. Now, hopefully, if you haven't had a chance yet, and I have not, if you haven't had a chance yet to see the comet, we're just calling it Atlas. It has that big long name. You know, those are the discoverers of the comet, and it's visible after sunset. So this map, or this little infographic, says 45 minutes after sunset. Basically, you want to find Venus. You can't miss it. It's Venus, super bright. And then off to your right as you're looking at the sunset. And let's see, today's the 15th, so it's pretty high in the sky. So you might even have better luck an hour after sunset, because it'll be darker. You know, as we go, the comet's getting further away from the sun, so it is getting slightly dimmer day by day. But I've been in meetings, and we had clouds yesterday, so I missed it. And so tonight's going to be my best, probably my last best chance. So hopefully I'll get to take a picture or two. If I do get a good picture, I'll share it with you tomorrow morning. All right, what is it like outside right now? Well, I'm glad you asked. So these are this morning's lows. So depending on where you are, it could be right now or close to right now. We're starting to warm up a little bit from these lows right now here in Iowa. But yeah, 30s this morning. Nebraska, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, parts of the Northeast in the 30s. 40s going all the way down into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. So that's chilly air is pretty far south. So it's starting to feel like fall almost everywhere. 40s for the Rockies, Intermountain West. A little bit warmer as you get on the other side of the Cascades. 50s for Seattle through Portland, Eugene, Medford, and even some more 50s to near 60 for Central California, and warmer than that, of course, for the desert Southwest. And Texas still hanging on to some of that heat, but we're going to fix that for you. Surface for today, we're not going to fix it today, but we will fix it. Hang in there, Texas. All right, the cold air spilling into the Great Lakes, into the Midwest, into the Mid-Atlantic, showery weather. And yeah, rain mixed with snow, maybe even some snow, West Virginia through Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And cold with that wind too. So I don't know if you would call it a hint of winter, but certainly feeling like fall. And then our new system moving into the Northwest with some snow possibilities for the Cascades of Washington and the Olympic Mountains too. And then you see on the Four Corners some showery weather. your temperature anomalies look like this. So much below average. West Virginia, kind of the bullseye there, about 20 degrees below average for today's highs, but widespread teens below average, all the way through, Tennessee, Kentucky, into the Midwest, up into the Great Lakes. Single digits below average here in Iowa. Our high is only in the mid 50s today here, an hour northeast of Omaha. So very nice, very cool, very pleasant. I love it. Texas, you're still above average. We're going to fix that, I think, probably tomorrow. We'll show you on the maps here in a second. I can't remember. And it's warm in the northern Rockies. We're going to fix that too. Highs today, 50s, Iowa. Really, much of the plains, central northern plains, 50s to near 60. 50s through the Midwest, all the way down into Tennessee. 50s into the Northeast. Some 60s, low 60s, say for North Carolina, and even some 70s there in the Southeast, even a couple 80s down in Florida. 90s hanging in there for Texas and for southern Arizona. I'm so sorry, you guys. Although Bruce told me not to apologize for the heat in Texas. It's one reason why he lives there. He's got the beach nearby. So 96 for Houston is hot, but you can run to the beach. All right, so lows tomorrow morning. Here's where the fun starts. So we're getting those 20s now into the Central Plains, into the Midwest, into the Great Lakes. So yeah, 20s for lows for parts of Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, maybe even parts of Missouri, certainly into Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan. So we got hard freeze coming. That's why we have all those freeze warnings on that hazard map. And 30s and even a few 20s all the way from, say, Indiana, Ohio, up into the Northeast. And even down there in Tennessee, North Carolina, in the mountains, some of that cold air for sure. Starting to cool off a little bit. Again, these are lows tomorrow morning. Cooling off for the west a little bit. Cooling off for West Texas, too. 43 to start the day, Lubbock, Texas, tomorrow morning. Very nice, as that front is through Texas. Tomorrow's surface map shows it, so it must be true. A little bit of snow, maybe, West Virginia, New York State. Certainly the West starting to see a lot more snow, especially in the mountains, Colorado, Utah, really all of those states that you can look at and name yourself, I guess. And high fire danger for Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas. So it's been very dry. We're waiting for some rain. Maybe this weekend we have a slight chance. So tomorrow's temperatures much below average for the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, even into the Southeast. Teens below average for these temperatures. And then we're starting to moderate northern plains into the upper Midwest. We'll be pretty close to average where I live here in western Iowa, but then temperatures getting a little bit above average as you head into, say, the Dakotas, Minnesota, back into Montana, and then getting back below average with our system moving into the Northwest. And those highs tomorrow look like this. The actual highs, 50s now, confined to basically the East Coast or the New England and parts of the Midwest into the Great Lakes. But then the further west you go, the warmer we get. 60s for Illinois, Iowa, 70s now for western Nebraska into South Dakota, North Dakota, even some 80s there for Wyoming and Montana. And then cooling off for Texas, like some 60s for highs in West Texas. So that's much better. And then 80s as you get down into Florida and the Northwest cooling off as well. Looking ahead to Thursday real quick on the surface, getting complicated in the West and getting cooler in the West. So, we still have cool high pressure settled over Kentucky. And so the eastern half of the country is still on the cool side because it is kind of fall. And then our system for the West is widespread mountain snows with a mixture in the medium elevations and rain in the lower elevations. And you see the heavy snow possible for southern Montana. Again, those mountains near Bozeman. They have a ski area there, of maybe several. So, I don't know, ski season getting started early this year, maybe in the West. Those anomalous temperatures on Thursday getting cooler in the Northwest and staying cool, hanging on to the coolness in the Southeast, warming up central and northern plains into the upper Midwest. And those highs on Thursday, we've got 80s returning to South Dakota. A lot of 70s, Kansas, even into Iowa now as the warmer air is returning. But, pleasant 70s for Texas. We got still 90 for Phoenix on this map. Some 80s down in Florida, but 60s and 50s as you head up the East Coast. A lot of 50s and 40s for the Pacific Northwest. All right, taking a look at the GFS now. And things are kind of interesting on here. So again, we have some snow up here into Canada, but some of that cold air, and it's a little bit breezy here too. Those northwest breezes making it feel cold, with some scattered snow showers possible as we go through today. Rain and snow. So rain and snow for West Virginia. We see some snow here in parts of New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine. This is that cool high pressure settling into the center of the country. This is going to be your 20s overnight tonight, maybe even some teens. Oh my goodness, they want my money. I'll have to edit that out. I've been doing no edits. All right, I'll find it. Apparently, I ran out of money, so I haven't been able to pay for the premium pivotal weather, but we can do what the free stuff does pretty well. Anyway, cold temperatures tonight and tomorrow morning in the plains, and then our new system coming into the Pacific Northwest. This gets us into tomorrow, or late tonight into tomorrow now. That cool high pressure settles south and east, getting a little bit warmer for the northern plains and turning colder for the northwest. And it's that system in the northwest that we're watching here. This is Thursday night, moving into Friday. Some snow for Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Ahead of it, some rain here, Salt Lake City. But we do have some snow here in Nevada as well, as that cold air and that low begins to form and get stronger. Lots of snow here from Utah into Wyoming, into Montana, parts of Idaho and Nevada. This is Friday noon, getting into Friday afternoon on the 19th. This is that snowstorm we've been talking about for parts of for the central and southern Rockies. So snow for Utah into Colorado, really right on the four corners. Even some snow for northern Arizona and New Mexico. And that continues to snow now on the 19th for Colorado. Like if you have a girlfriend that's flying into Colorado, this is the timing right now. And then we're starting to see some showers and storms bust out moving into the plains. And usually, as we get into September, October, we can have what's a second severe weather season. So watch for some of these storms to possibly become severe as we get into Saturday night, Sunday. So Sunday, some pretty good storms here from Kansas into the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles, back into New Mexico. Some lingering light snow showers, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, and Idaho, with some light rain. Another system reinforcing here coming into the northwest with some rain. And again, that lingering light snow. This is getting into Monday now. So this is early morning Monday. And we see those showers into the plains. And it'll be warming up in the plains ahead of the system, cooling off behind the system as we get, further into the forecast. This is the 21st. So we're already, 6 days away from today. That low moves into Canada. Some windy conditions here as cold air comes back into the northern plains. Some showers perhaps moving into the Midwest on the warm side. But this cold air will come back down and cool us off again after a brief warm up. And looks like some pretty good storms moving through Michigan as we get into Tuesday. And then that colder air coming in behind it here with another system perhaps moving towards the Pacific Northwest as we get into about a week from today. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Things to cool off now on the north, from the northwest into the Rockies with that snowstorm, and things to, moderate center part of the country and still kind of cool for the east, but not as cold as the next couple of days. Here's the 6 to 10 day outlook. The 17th through the 21st, still warm center part of the country, cooler northwest, cooler east central. And then for precipitation, a better chance for rain in the plains and through the northwest and back into the southeast, and dry for the east coast. All right, let's see. I think I loaded these up. So this is next weekend. So this is the 21st. Your temperature is below average, well below average for the Four Corners states, like 25 degrees below average for where it will probably get some snow there in northern Arizona and into Utah, 20 to 25 degrees below average, and above average for the plains and the upper Midwest. And then Sunday, that cooler air moderates a little bit, still centered over the Four Corners, maybe a little bit more into Wyoming, Utah, Colorado still, and slightly below average for Oregon, Washington, and much above average for the upper Midwest and into parts of the plains. All right, so that's a look not only through this weekend, but into next weekend. Again, I really appreciate you tuning in, and we will keep you posted as we go. That's what we do right here at the Weather Mic.